So I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So before I start, thank you, Rajaram and Srinivaslu sir, for giving this opportunity for discussing this very important and favorite topic of all the civil engineers right now, the revision of code. Okay. So yeah, the first IS 1893 evolution from 1962 to 2025. So this is so before we start, let's look at this journey of 60 years. The code was first given in 1962. It was it just started, it was adopted by Indian standards, and it just gave a basic formula of shear force, base shear. Okay, so then through the years, lot changes were done, lot many changes were done, and in the present 2025, the code has completely changed from deterministic to probabilistic. So it's a very big change for earthquake engineering. What are we basically looking here is, when we are looking at deterministic, it was mostly like some events, historical data, and from the historical data, calculations were done. When we are looking at probabilistic, it's more of, I'm looking at all the parameters, taking into consideration all the parameters, then trying to get a value for the base shear. So the first code, 1962, it established the foundation, or that was the first book which we had as a standard. So the key developments or the key features of that code were 7 seismic zones were there, 0 to 6. They introduced a seismic coefficient which was dependent on the type of the soil. So the soil type was given as hard soil, average soil, and soft soil. And the basic formula was F is equal to alpha H into W. W is the seismic weight, alpha H is the seismic coefficient. In the tabular column, we can look at you can see the values which are given. So the maximum value for the soft soil was also 0.12. Now, through the years, our risk map has been modified depending on the various things which are happening, the various events which happened. So all the events, all the data, all the research, everything is now evident through the changes in our risk map. Coming to the evolution of seismic safety or base shear formulation evolution. So when we started with 1962, the formula was just alpha H into W. In 1966, the first revision came, and in that, the formula was modified as C into alpha H into W. In 70, the C factor in 1966 is the structural flexibility term. In 70, when the modification or the revision happened, we had beta term. Beta term was introduced. The beta factor was the soil foundation system. In 75, we got the importance factor. In 84, K factor was added. K is the structural framing and ductility. So as we see, every revision is adding its own flavor to the code. Once 2002 revision came, we got the response reduction factor and also the acceleration coefficient factors. The same thing was continued in 2016, but with very more clarity and more perfect definitions to the terms associated. Then the final 2025 version Here, separate horizontal and vertical forces are defined now. So we have two formulas now when it comes to 2025. Okay, so the last slide and this slide is just giving us the various terms which are added for every year as we are progressing or as the revisions are being done. So every revision is adding its own component. Now coming to the problem or the analysis which was done, the study which was done, it was, we did a study on a low-rise structure and a mid-rise structure. Low-rise structure is G+3, mid-rise structure is G+7. Total height of G+3 is 12 meters. Total height of G+7 is 24 meters. Fundamental time period Tx 0.32 and fundamental time period Tx in G+7 is 0.64. I'll come to the weight term. Say seismic weight, we'll just get to the seismic weight parameter in a while. So this is the architectural plan of the structure which we will be discussing, or whose values we have calculated for all the codal provisions, like starting from 62 till 2025, when we calculate the base shear, what is the variation and how the base shear has been changing over the years. So this is the elevation and the beam column positions of the structure. Now, when we look at the seismic weight, it's full dead load plus K into the imposed load. K is given as some factor, okay? So now coming to our case, G+3. Let's start with G+3 residential building. And the building type is residential, ground plus 3 floors. Structural system is moment resisting frame. Started off with zone 2. Foundation assumed as soil site class D. So total load, total seismic weight, when we are trying to calculate for any structure, it would be the roof weight, then from all the floors. When we are calculating the roof, it would be like along with the parapet wall and stuff, parapet wall, okay? So for G+3, the total weight comes to be 4650 kilonewtons. So now let's look at the formulas in more detail and also try to look at each component so that when we look at the Excel sheet where the calculations are done, we will understand like which term is coming from which point. So the first or the foundational era, 1966 to 84, because 66 is the first revision of the code. So this was the era of empirical coefficients. We had just the empirical coefficients which were added and values were given, and those values were used for the calculations. So the first formula, VB is equal to C into alpha H into W. C is coefficient defining the flexibility of the structure, and it's tied to the number of stories. So C is depending on the number of stories, it's a coefficient which is given. Alpha H is seismic coefficient. W is the weight parameter. So if you look at it, this introduced the C factor. 66 code introduced the flexibility coefficient to account for the number of stories. And the flexibility coefficient, it was given as 9 by n plus 5, where n was number of stories. Here, one more point was given in the code saying that it should not be more than 1. It should not be more than 1 for greater than 1 for framed buildings, and it should not be more than 1.33 for buildings having load-bearing walls. So this component has been given and a restriction has also been put in place. So for our condition or the case which we are working with, it would be like 1. The C value is 1. So next comes the 70. 70 formulation is C into alpha H into beta into W. Beta is coefficient for soil foundation system. So this was the critical step where the type of the soil was given weightage. So here, now see in 70s version, number of seismic zones are consolidated from 7 to they have been reduced to 5. So it was zone 1 to zone 5. Then C flexibility coefficient was given as 0.5 divided by cube root of T. So fundamental time period T is equal to 0.1 N for moment resisting films. And beta is soil foundation factor. So these three changes came here. Now in 75, importance factor was added. This started giving or acknowledging the critical infrastructure which is important or which needs to be functional after an earthquake. And alpha naught refined the previous seismic coefficient, creating a standard, standards for different regions. Coming to 84, VB is equal to K into C into beta into importance factor I into alpha naught into W. Now the new variable here is the performance factor. Here they got the structural framing system and the ductility of the member into account. So when we are looking at both 75 and 84, its first one introduces the importance factor and the second one introduces the performance factor K. And the seismic coefficient alpha H is broken down into three parameters: beta into I into alpha naught. Alpha naught is basic horizontal seismic coefficient. K is performance factor, 1 for ductile systems and 1.6 for non-ductile. Importance factor is 1.5 for important buildings and 1 for regular. Soil foundation factors refined to 1, 1.2 and 1.5. Then comes the modern era or the paradigm shift where things started changing from the more basic versions. Here they started taking into consideration zone factor, importance factor, response reduction factor, and average response acceleration coefficient. So this is the point where lot many changes were done, and the approach was natural period and acceleration. SA by G value was calculated, and response reduction factor replaced the K factor here. So in 2002, the seismic zones were reduced from 5 to 4. Zone 1 was removed. Again, when we are looking at overall, when we are looking at the VB calculation or the shear force base shear calculation, base shear is always like 1 AH into W. W component always remains. AH component is being modified every time, with every revision, with every improvements in the research, improvements in the studies which are going on in this field. So Z, zone factor representing the peak ground acceleration. I is importance factor, response reduction factor accounting for the system's ductility and energy dissipation. Then spectral acceleration coefficient. Spectral acceleration coefficient dependent on the time period and the soil type. Again in 2016, some refinements came with importance factor values and other things, and some definitions, explicit definitions and key factors were provided. The fundamental formula. So when we are looking at SA by G computations for very long period structures, like let's say t greater than 4 seconds, a minimum floor value for a coefficient was introduced. And for a G+7 structure, when we are looking at t is equal to, it would be, when it's taken as 0.1 into n is number of flows, that's because it's G+7, 8. So t is equal to 0.8. So rocky soil, the value will, SA by G value will come to be 1.25. For medium, it's 1.7, and for soft, it's 2.1. Now comes the newest revision, 2025. In this revision, the major change here is we are not only taking horizontal effects, also the vertical movement of the structure. So here the first point was only horizontally the effect is not only taken, but the vertical variations are also considered. And subsequently, changes have been done. One more point here is, obviously, from the deterministic perspective, we have moved to a probabilistic way of calculation. So the key developments here are zone 6 has been added. Zone 6 has been added, and as strength and serviceability criteria have been added. So when we are calculating the forces with respect to these two values. So the formulas here are same. Again, when we look at it's again AHD or AVD into the W component. Only the AHD part or AVD part is being modified depending on the soil type, depending on the parameters of the soil. Now again, the parameters of the soil are also very detailedly studied, because you can give a value, you can start with the assumption. Also, if you have a data regarding the soil profile, you can give the soil profile values and you can use that values for your calculations. These things, I suppose it has been already discussed in today morning's Rajaram session. So I hope everyone has an idea of what we are talking here. It's just, if I have a soil profile, if I know what kind of a soil is present for the first some meters, next, all those values, I can use it to calculate the parameters there. And from that parameters, the soil has been classified as A, B, C, and D. So depending on which criteria it comes, like whether it is in A, B, C, or D, the values change. So when we are looking at it, our code has modified from a very simple coefficient method to a multifaceted analysis. So it started in 62 with just base shear equal to alpha H into W. With its first revision in 1966, base shear is equal to C into alpha H into W. Then coming to present calculation, which are on par with international standards. Here, some of the major shifts here are from deterministic to probabilistic, and the values which we are getting for the base shear. So when we are looking at the calculations, when we go to the calculations, we will be we are getting a value which is like 1.8 to 3.2 times higher in high seismic zones. Comparatively, in all the zones, we are getting values which are 1.5 times more. But in high seismic zone, the range is in between 1.8 to 3.2. And two criteria have been added. One is strength criteria and second is the serviceability criteria. So strength will be like collapse prevention, serviceability is damage limitations. So now let's dive into the example. Everyone is able to look at the Excel sheet, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So the first calculation, let's look at 66. So the grade of concrete, 20, slab thickness, wall thickness. These are the first tab gives us the basic information about the building. So slab thickness 0.12, wall thickness 0.23, floor finishes 1 kilonewton per meter square, size of the beam, size of the column. Then natural period calculations, G+3. Here, when we are looking at 1966, the formula gave us just C into alpha naught into W, right? So we don't have importance factor, we don't have other factors. We are just getting into the alpha naught value. Alpha naught values are given from the code. So the number of zones were from 0 to 6. And these are the values. For G+3, the weight, the seismic weight calculated is 4650. So now when we calculate the base shear for all the zones, these are the values. These are the values. This is like we have when we are calculating the alpha naught value, it's given as soil type 1, soil type 2, soil type 3. Or so for these different soil types, these are the different values. So for zone 1, the value starts from zone 0, the value starts from zone 0, the value starts from 0. And to zone 6, it's 372 for first soil type. Then when we are looking at the second soil type or the medium soil type, zone 0 again it's 0, and zone 6, which is to be the highest zone, there it is 465. And the last value is 0 to 558. Similarly, similar calculations have been done for G+7 also. And in this too, the same from zone 0 to zone 6. The maximum value for G+7 also, we are getting it as 1010.4. So this is for my first codal revision value. So now as we move to 1970, 1970 beta values, the equation zone factors were given. 1970, the formula changed as C into alpha H into beta into W. And C was given as 0.5 divided by cube root of T. Beta is a coefficient depending on the soil foundation. So here, for the given problem, we got beta value 1, C is 1, and various zone values modify. Zones are from 1 to 5, and these zone values are 0.01 to 0.08. when we calculate the base shear for all the types, the maximum value is getting to be 447 approximately. Similar calculations for G plus 7. Only the weight component changes 8420, 4650 and 8420, right? So only the weight component changes. Other parameters, because we are keeping the structural system same, other parameters are same. Values, we are getting different value. As we move ahead, as we progress, every modification, if we come to, let me go back to 75 also. Seventy-five again, C alpha H into W. This alpha H was given as beta into I into alpha naught, the formulation. So importance factor came, importance factor 1, C value is given as 0.9, beta is 1. Equation earthquake zones and zone factors, again they vary from 0.01 to 0.08. So alpha H in my base shear calculations, I have alpha H. Alpha H is beta into I into alpha naught. Alpha naught is these values. So my alpha H values are calculated for all the zones. These alpha H values, when multiplied with the W and C, gives me the base shear. So this is in 75. These were our calculations in 75. When I'm looking at G plus 7, the C value reduced from, in G plus 3, the C value was 0.9. In G plus 7, the C value reduced to 0.62. And other values almost similar. Final VB values, okay? And this is how the plot looks like. But again, I'll come back to the plots. Coming to year 1984, the last one before the major change in the codal here. Here the formulations, VB is equal to K value has come, C value is there, beta I alpha naught into W. K is given as the performance factor, and performance factor very specifically it's given as the values would be 1 for a ductile building system, 1.6 for buildings not detailed for ductility, and 1.3 for intermediate case. C is the flexibility factor, T is the fundamental natural period, and T is given as 0.1 into N for moment resisting frames and 0.09 H by root D for other buildings, where again N is number of stories. So when we take all these things into consideration and the zone values, zone factors, our values come to be 334.8 maximum value. The same calculations for a G plus 7. $417. Again, we are doing the same calculation, Kc beta into A into alpha naught into W. Alpha naught is, alpha naught values are given. Now, coming to 2002 G plus 3. Two 2002 G plus 3. Importance factor I is taken 1, R is 5. Equation, earthquake zone and the factors. Here the values change from 0.1 to 0.36. SA by G value comes as 2.5 from the graphs. These things, when I used to calculate, first, if you calculate the AH value as Z by 2 into I by R into SA by G, you get these. Multiply that with the weight of the building, that is 4650 for G plus 3. So we get in zone 2, the value is 116.25, and in zone 5, the value is 418.5. Similarly, when you're taking the G plus 7, IR values remain same, SA by G values changes for your different types of soil. Rock and hard soil, medium soil and soft soil. So here you are getting AH values as 3 different sets. In G plus 3, because my SA by G value was single value, my values were only a single parameter. Here I am getting 3 different values for 3 different types of soil. So finally, when I multiply the seismic weight of the building, I get these. For rock and hard soil, zone 2 value is 131.6 and it's goes up to, for zone 5, it's 473.8. For medium soil, it's starting from 178 and going up to 644.39. And for soft soil, zone 2 value is starting from 210.5 and it's ending at 757.8. Now coming to the 2016 revision, 2016 values. So 2016 G plus 3, all soil sites. Again, when I'm looking at a G plus 3 or a low-rise structure, SA by G value, I'm getting a single value 2.5. So when it is multiplied by the seismic weight, my zone 2 value increases from 116.25 to 418.5. When it comes to G plus 7, we have 3 different SA by G values. And for the 3 different SA by G values, we get 3 sets of base shear. Zone 2, it starts rock and hard soil. Zone 2, it starts from 131, goes up to 473. Medium soil, it starts at 178.9 and goes up to 644. Soft soil, it's 210.5 going up to 757.8. Now coming to our most newest or the 7th revision in 2025. Here, when we are looking at G+3, for for G+3, T in x direction and T in y direction is calculated. So T in x direction comes to be 0.320 and T in y direction comes to be 0.368. Importance factor is 1. R is 5. Zone factors for 73 years and for 75 years are taken for zone 2 and to zone 6. These are the values. Assuming site class D. Site class D in x direction and y direction. When we look at the codal provisions, we are getting A and H values as 2.5. A and H values as 2.5. This we are using to calculate for strength and serviceability. Strength and serviceability. AH in both x direction for strength and serviceability, and again AH in y direction for strength and serviceability. This once I calculate this AH value in both directions, when I divide it by R, I get the values for the various zones. This value, I have to multiply it with W. That's giving me the base shear values, design base shear values in both X and Y direction for both strength design and serviceability design. Strength design and serviceability design. So when I'm looking at in X direction for strength design, zone 2 values start from 174 and zone 6 the values are 1162. And serviceability design, when I'm looking in X direction, zone 2 starts from 87 and zone 6 it is going up to 697. In Y direction, the same values, zone 2 it's 174 and zone 6 it's 1162. Serviceability zone 2 87 and zone 6 697. There is also a minimum value check given as per the code. So that minimum value check is also done to understand what is the minimum value. Now, when we come to G+7, when it is coming to G+7, the values start for A and B. I have a single for parameters in A and B, there is one calculation, and for parameters in C and D, soil type C and D, there is a different calculation because the values change here. So site class A and B, when I'm assuming it to be in site class A and B, the A and H values are 1.56 and 1.358. So using these site class values, my AHT and AVTR values in strength, X and Y direction, strength and serviceability design criteria values are calculated. These values are used for my final design base shear after getting the design horizontal acceleration coefficient. That is nothing but AHT value which I get divided by R. here, now the weight of the structure is 8420, and my different base shear values in strength design and serviceability design are, when I'm looking at X direction, it's zone 2 starts from 197, and zone 6 it goes up to 1316. Again, in as for serviceability criteria in X direction, it's starting from zone 2 is starting from 98, and zone 6 it's going up to 789. So as we can see, when we are doing the calculation, my values are increasing in this range, like 1.5, almost every zone there is an increase of 1.5, and for higher zones it's almost 1.8 to 3.2. This is just the A and B type of the soil. When you look at C type of the C category, site class C, values differ, A and H values in X and Y direction. These are 2.3 and 2.0. Using these values, again my whole calculations are done and the final values are computed, final base shear values are computed. Almost we see the same change. When we are coming to soil types D, site class D. Site class D, here the values are 2.5. So using 2.5, the computations are done. And this computations, along with my seismic weight, give me the base shear of, in zone 2, in X direction, it's 315. And in zone 6, it's going up to 2105 for strength design. And in serviceability design, it's starting at 157 for zone 2. And for zone 6, it's going up to 1263. So this is how the base shear computation is getting modified with every code revision. So if you look at few of the graphs, so the evolution of PGS across IS 1893 revisions. So the blue value gives me the 1966 code. 70, 75 and 84 are the orange ones. Green is 2002 and 2016, and 2025 is my red. Now when you come to the variation, when you come to look at the variation of base shear in buildings, so G+3 and G+7 buildings, which we were just looking at the calculations. So here, if you look, the bar chart clearly shows the rise in the values at 2025 strength and serviceability criteria in comparison with all the other codal revisions. For all site, this graph gives you the variation when compared to all site classes. So it's 2016 and 2025 serviceability and strength criteria. This is again base shear comparison for G+7 building 2025 strength criteria by site class. So different site classes we have. For the different site classes, when we compare the values, this is how the graph comes. So the yellow line graph tells me, gives us the values for the site class D, soft soil. Orange is for the medium site class C, and site class A and B is the blue. So this is how the study has evolved, and few of the major conclusions or few of the major points which were observed during the study were, when you look at all the revisions, there is nearly an increase of 1.5 times across all seismic zones under both criteria. And next point is the base shear is increased to 30% in serviceability criteria compared to IS 1893, 2002 or 2016. While the base shear rises by 1.8 to 3.2 times in higher seismic zones. So as we come to higher seismic zones, the increase in the value is more. And as the increase in the value is more, it's more of, now we have more of our infrastructure which has to be retrofitted with the new revision of the code. So the final, before we can we come to the conclusion part or anything, the major point in this discussion would be, there is a drastic change in the provisions. From deterministic, we have suddenly moved to probabilistic. So things will have changed a lot. So until and unless it's implemented by the engineers, accepted and implemented by the engineers, this change will not be successful. So because it's almost changed from a deterministic conservative values to a probabilistic, more proactive values, there seems to be a lot of change. But yes, the changes are for the good. Obviously, we are trying to move ahead also with our research, with the increased research, with so many things being put into place. And we are also trying to be on par with the codes of the Western countries. So this change is one big step for that rehaul. So before we finish this, I would like to just play this video. This is a video created using Notebook LM from the data what we have used to study or the calculations which I have done. It gives you a gist of all the things we have been discussing till now in a bite size, in a 8 minutes video.
All right, today we're going to talk about something huge. We're diving into how India is completely rewriting its rulebook for construction, engineering its buildings to stand up to some of the most powerful forces on the planet. We're talking about building for the big one. Now, take a look at this. This isn't just some map. It's basically a rap sheet of seismic force. Every single one of those markers from the Indian Meteorological Department, that's a major earthquake. You've got the monster 8.6 magnitude Assam-Tibet quake in 1950, the devastating one in Gujarat in 2001. The message here is crystal clear. India sits on some incredibly active ground. So this brings up a massive, fundamental challenge for an entire country's worth of engineers and architects, right? How do you actually build safely on land that refuses to stay still? It's a question that has driven decades of research, and tragically, it's one they've had to revisit after every major disaster. To really get this solution, you have to understand the problem. And this problem, well, it starts deep, deep beneath our feet. I want you to picture a car crash, but in super slow motion, one that's been going on for millions of years. That's what's happening with the Indian tectonic plate. It's just constantly ramming north right into the massive Eurasian plate. This colossal collision is exactly what pushed up the Himalayas, and it's also what builds up an unbelievable amount of stress in the Earth's crust. And that stress, eventually, it has to be released. And that release comes in the form of earthquakes. So, how in the world do you deal with a threat that's literally part of the foundation of your country? Well, you create a rule book, a national safety code that's designed to give every building a fighting chance. In India, that rulebook is called IS 1893. And as you can see from this timeline, this code is no dusty old book sitting on a shelf. It's a living, breathing document. It was first drafted way back in 1962, and it's been revised again and again, getting smarter as our understanding of seismic science grows. But this upcoming 2025 revision, that's not just an update, it's a complete revolution. Okay, to go any further, we need to get one key concept down pat: base shear. Just imagine an earthquake trying to just shove a building sideways right at its base. That total pushing force is the base shear. The entire point of this whole seismic code is to figure out what that force will be and then make damn sure the building is strong enough to push back. You know, tragically, the story of this code is really written in the rubble of past disasters. It turns out the biggest leaps forward in safety standards have almost always come right after the ground has shaken the hardest. And you can literally draw a straight line from these disasters to the changes. After the 1967 Koinaquake hit an area everyone thought was safe, scientists just got rid of the whole idea of a no-damage zone 0. Then, decades later, the 2001 Bhuj earthquake served as another massive wake-up call, and that led them to completely remap the country into fewer but much, much higher risk zones. And with every hard lesson learned, that formula for calculating base shear just got more and more sophisticated. It started out pretty simple, just looking at how flexible a building was. Then they added what kind of soil it's on. That matters a lot. Then how important the building is. You know, a hospital needs to be way safer than a shed. Then they added performance factors. And finally, all the modern data we have on ground acceleration. Every single step added another crucial layer of realism to the whole thing. Which brings us to today, and to what is, without a doubt, the biggest evolution in the code's entire history. The 2025 revision isn't just another tweak, it's a fundamental change in how they think about risk. Okay, so here's the best way to think about it. The old way was what we call deterministic. It was like training for a boxing match, where you know your opponent is only going to throw one specific giant haymaker. So you build your whole defense around that one punch. The new way, the probabilistic method, is like training for a real fight. You've analyzed the odds of every possible punch, jabs, hooks, uppercuts, and you're prepared for all of them. It's a much smarter, more comprehensive defense. The technical name for this new approach is PSHA, which stands for Probabilistic Seismic Hazard Assessment. Instead of just focusing on the single biggest possible earthquake, PSHA looks at the probability of all the different levels of shaking that could happen. By actually embracing uncertainty, it paints a much more realistic and robust picture of the actual threat. So what does this mean in the real world? Well, just look at these numbers for peak ground acceleration. That's basically how hard the ground is expected to shake. In a high-risk zone back in 1970, a building had to withstand 0.08 G. By 2025, that same requirement has shot up to 0.5 G. That is a staggering increase. Let's put that in a single, really powerful number. A building designed in 2025 in one of these high-risk zones has to be able to withstand forces 6.25 times higher than one built back in 1970. That is a monumental leap in safety standards. But it's not just about building stronger, it's about being smarter, about where you build stronger. The old code said about 27% of India's land was high risk. The new 2025 code, with its much more advanced analysis, bumps that up to 36%. That means a much bigger chunk of the country is now correctly identified as needing the absolute highest level of protection. So let's bring this all home. What do all these formulas, these zones, these probabilities, what do they actually mean for the real buildings we live and work in every single day? Well, the 2025 standard is a game changer. For one, buildings in a lot of areas are going to have to be designed to be up to 3.2 times stronger than before. It also brings in two separate safety goals. First is strength, which is all about preventing collapse and saving lives no matter what. The second is serviceability, which is about limiting damage during smaller, more frequent quakes. This whole new approach brings India's standards right up there with the best in the world, like in the US and Europe. This chart right here, it just says it all. This is for a typical 7-story building in a high-risk zone. You can see the steady climb and how strong it needed to be from 1984 to 2016. And then, look at that massive jump for the 2025 standard. This one visual tells the entire story of India's incredible journey towards seismic safety. So here's the bottom line. A brand new high-rise going up in Mumbai or Delhi under this 2025 code is engineered to a safety standard that was literally unimaginable just a generation ago. It's a fundamentally different, stronger, and most importantly, safer kind of building. But, and this is a big but, all this incredible progress for new buildings shines a bright light on a massive challenge. What about the millions of buildings that are already standing? This really highlights the urgent, critical need to go back and retrofit older structures that were built to much, much lower standards. And that really leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. The science of safety is always moving forward, always improving, ensuring the buildings of tomorrow are more resilient than ever before. But it also forces us to ask ourselves, is the building you're in right now actually designed for the earthquake of